Karibuni sana. We continue with the conversations this morning. And in studio with us, we have Mule Musau, who is the National Coordinator, ENOG. And we're talking about Election Watch, auditing the voters register and population data. Just where is the country with regard to that? And what must we do to say that as we head to the 2027 election, that each and every single aspect that manages the election, including population, the register, whether the servers will be open, that each and every single thing has been handled as we approach the 2027 election. Mule Musau, karibu sana, how are you?
Asante sana.
Good to see you.
I'm good. Good to see you too.
Today you've changed a little bit. Sijaona kofia leo.
He has nothing to hide.
You know,
and we share a baba, so you know.
That's a very good interjection right there.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
karibu sana. So
Asante.
today we are, as usually is the case, we go to different African countries. Today we are in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And one thing that comes to mind when one talks about Congo, what would that be for you? When you hear someone talk about DRC, what comes to mind?
Minerals.
Resources, right?
Resources.
Yeah, but now with all the resources that Congo does have, always comes with the but.
Yes.
But it is not helping the residents.
Of course.
But it is the cause of the instability.
It's a poor country.
You know, it is a poor.
Irrespective of the resources.
You know, it is a poor country, yet they receive the amount of rainfall in Congo today because of the rainforest, the best timber, the fertile land they have, oil that has not
One
even
of the
been
biggest
explored.
rivers in the world.
Thank you. You know, again, I've been saying this the entire week. EAC, African Union, step up. Do something about the Congo. Let the people of the Congo and the continent at large benefit from the resources that God has bequeathed this amazing continent. But let's go to the proverb. A man who marries a beautiful woman and a farmer who grows corn by the roadside have the same problem. How would you interpret it?
A person, I think it's very clear that what the problem would be. I mean, if you have married a very beautiful woman, chances are there'll be people who are very envious about you and they'll be interested in that particular woman. Corn by the roadside means that somebody will be thieving. I mean, some will be stealing some of it away because it's just by the roadside. It's attractive to somebody who has an appetite to steal. So I think that's where the commonality is.
Yes.
They are both roadside things.
Or don't plant corn by the roadside.
No, so my interpretation then is you have a beautiful woman, you have beautiful corn, right?
Yes.
So then responsibility for you is how will you protect it?
Exactly.
How will you take care of it so that you reap maximum benefit from the beautiful woman you have and from the corn that you do have.
That's a very good interpretation.
Sindio?
That makes a lot of sense.
Sindio?
It's about what you do
with what?
About that. Although the other side of the coin is, you know, there's somebody who said that a beautiful flower by the roadside is only beautiful to you. It never told you it is beautiful. It is just beautiful under the sun, and that is its nature. You never needed to do anything beyond just admiring and walking past and just being happy about the fact that you saw something beautiful. But we usually now go on and pluck it, take it away, take it from its natural environs, which is unfair to it. It was just being itself, but you decided to give it another purpose. So even it's the same speak. You could look at beautiful corn, it inspires you. You don't have to steal it. You can see a beautiful woman, you don't have to think anything about it. Be very happy for that man who has a beautiful wife. But usually never ever do that, do we?
Your brother, nakwambia hapa uliangukia. Anyway, let's get to the conversation. So we talk about the Kenya and where it finds itself today. 2027 is just around the corner. And the conversations around our EBC and its readiness for the election, then comes the audit of the voter register. We know our EBC already told us that it does not have time to for boundaries delimitations as well, right? But then again, there have been conversation. Justin Muturi, former Attorney General, has said that we need to look at the population the country has. We need to look at the register, those who died, clear the register to ensure that those who died do not vote. We equally need to, IEBC has said that those who had registered as voters before the 2010 constitution need to go and update their systems as well. So if you look at all these matrices that are being thrown all over the place with regard to the 2010 general election, do we have time? And how critical is it for us to ensure that all these things are achieved?
First, on the question of audit, we do have time for audit. I don't think that's a big issue. In fact, all the times that IEBC has conducted an audit on the register, it is done just before the elections, and for good reason. Because first, you need a complete register. Because right now, people are updating, people are registering. We have these Gen Zs all over the place, ensuring that the register is many Wakokadi. So once that exercise is over, that would be a good time to do an audit. But I think the audit that people are talking about is much more of the assessment of the existing records. Because I think I think we've seen quite a number of issues which have been coming up about people saying, I found my name on the register, or I did not have all my details in the register. There was something that NADCO anticipated. Remember the National Dialogue Committee recommendations? They had anticipated that once a new commission comes in place, within 6 months, and unfortunately these are not things which have been attended to by Parliament, within 6 months they were required to do an assessment of the existing register. And the reason for that was, of course, there are those reservations about was it a clean register. From ELOG and from our perspective, we give a very an indication based on comparative information that we have from the 2017 experience that would go on to indicate that there could be issues with the register that you need to attend to even as you get new voters. In 2017, IEBC conducted an audit of the register just before the elections. I think 3 months before the elections. We conducted our own independent audit of that register after the elections, after 2017 elections. And we found quite a number of, once an audit is done, it has a report. That report indicates what needs to be done. Deduplication, for instance, if there are records which are in duplicates, they need to be eliminated. It needs to be cleaned before you go to the elections. But after that election, we still had issues. A number of the issues that KPMG, I think that time, had found out, we still found them. And that was after the elections. So we had every reason to say, these registers, we are never very sure about the cleaning part. The auditing part is done and done very well. But the cleaning part, and again, if you go back to 2022, you remember that again, an audit was done, but we never had enough time to be able to go through everything. We saw a report which said, the former chair, I remember he said, we have got a report, we have been told what we need to do. But I don't think there's been a very conclusive interrogation of those findings, number one, and of the register since that time. So there was a need, and that's why I think the wisdom of NADCO was of saying, before the next election, could we have a relook? Could we assess? Can we first get the report from the auditors? Can it be made public so that we can be able to look into the issues which were raised? And can IEBC, once constituted, be able to process and assess the veracity of the integrity or the integrity of that register? I think that was necessary even before we start talking about a new registration process. Although this can be going on concurrently anyway, you can still be able to make an assessment of that register and be able to determine there are still a number of issues. When somebody, for instance, I think I saw yesterday when somebody says, I have seen my name in the register and I'm a new voter.
Yes.
I mean, that's a cause for concern. That's something that must be investigated. And that is that indicative of more errors or more issues in that register? So that is something I think, in my view, we should have time for. It's one of the most sensitive documents or strategic materials for elections, and we need to go with that to that election when we are very clear about its integrity.
So you speak to, there is an audit that is done, and this I'm sure is presented to the Secretariat.
Yes,
In
it is
terms-
presented to the Commission.
The Commission, I think the Secretariat is the one that's responsible for
Yes,
implementing it.
facilitating.
You're the
Yeah.
chairman. And so you say 2017, there were anomalies that were picked out, but nothing was acted upon.
Quite a number of records, quite a number of issues were still
So
not addressed.
what is the argument, or what is the Commission presenting as a hindrance to them being able to deliver and ensure that they clean the register?
I don't think there's anything that they have said to the effect that it cannot be done. I think for me, the first responsibility should have been on Parliament, because there's a recommendation to Parliament through NADCO that upon having a new commission, there should be some assessment of that voter register. I think that should have gone ahead and recommended that, so that it becomes one of the TORs of the new commission. Yes. So I think that's, but nothing stops the current commission as presently constituted from saying we are going to continue working on ensuring that we attend to any anomalies, we attend to any issues that could affect the integrity of the register. I think that's an ongoing engagement. Remember, voter registration is a continuous process.
Yes.
And that means also the updating of it is also continuous, because every time they're getting records, it's part of updating.
This is why I'm asking this, because if it should be a simple exercise in my view, because one, we know who dies, at least as per the records that we have. We have people who have identities, and the Commission's part of its responsibility and task is to ensure that the voters' roll is up to date as possible.
Exactly.
So if it's not done, then is it a failure? Which I think is, what is stopping them, or what is making them not be able to sort this problem? Because why would we go to an election with a voters' roll that is not properly done?
No, we cannot go for an election with a bad roll. That I can assure you, because there'll be a lot of consternation out there. There'll be a lot of hue and cry if that was to get to the elections without having some kind of cleanup. I believe that IBC will do and conduct a voter audit, but that will be very close to the election, especially once they close the register, because they have the comprehensive records that they can be able to do an audit on. But nothing, what I want to agree with you is that nothing stops them, even as of now. I mean, a complaint like the one which was registered just 2 days ago is an issue that must be investigated. And if we get good answers to what could have happened.
It speaks to serious fraud.
Exactly.
You know, Mule, you just mentioned that the 2017 audit was never acted upon.
Yes.
And since 2017, we've had an election after that. You know, so if the 2017 register was never acted upon, many Kenyans, I myself am asking myself a question: did we then go to the 2022 elections with the anomalies that were raised in the 2017 register that were never addressed? Because here we then find ourselves with a lot that has been done. Like you are an independent body, you are not IEBC.
Yes,
you did the audit and you found anomalies, right?
Yes.
And with these anomalies, then if they were forwarded to IEBC, it is expected, not even hoped, it is expected that they pick that up, they look at the anomalies, they fix it, and assure Kenyans that as we go to the elections, each and every single anomaly that existed has been corrected. We have further gone as IEBC to do our own audit. We found these extra anomalies, addressed them, and we assure you that you're going to election with a register that is free of any anomaly.
Fairly clean.
But here we are saying, if the 2017 was never addressed, we are going to 2027 and we are looking at an IEBC whose resources have been diminishing. We're looking at an IEBC that has a lot in terms of, it is a new commission, right? It has a lot on its plate, right? But these don't seem, I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but these don't seem to be the priority in terms of, first of all, Mule brought his issue, was never addressed. Perhaps we need to address that first to ensure that where Mule sits is comfortable. We need to look at what happened in 2022 as well as deal with all those problems so that as we head to 2027, everything has been sorted. For me, these are the current commission. does not only have to deal with what we are seeing right now, but it has to go back to history to avoid a repeat of the same mistakes, would you reckon?
Yeah, one of the things, and I'll put that what I've just said in context. Two things happened last week around the voter register. One was a misrepresentation of what the chair said about fresh registration.
Yes.
He gave an update and just on the enhanced voter registration, and he said, well, for those old voters pre-2012 who were not in the biometric register, they need to use this opportunity to do this.
To do the same, yeah.
That was a simple message, or should have been a simple message.
Yes.
But remember, you have seen how it has been misconstrued by all and sundry out there to
Maybe
mean,
is it how
what are
it
they
was
saying?
put out? Is it how it was put out?
Exactly. So I'm just alluding to something.
Yeah.
I'm coming to that issue. Then secondly, remember these Gen Zs when they started going to checking their details on the voter register, and then I think even one of the key actors in the Nico Cardi campaign says, I think there's some problem with IBC and the portal. All my details are not there. I have my name, but I don't have the polling station number. Another simple case of how communication and education can be done, because we know now that we don't need to have any polling stations right now. You don't need to know the name of your polling station or the number now, because the register is not complete.
Yes.
But what is the gap there? Communication, information.
Yes.
Clear communication. So even on the first instance, it was still a question of communication and information. Although I will still go on to add that there was a misrepresentation by the media, in my view. I think when I read the statement myself, I did not get the indication insinuation that there was supposed to be a fresh voter registration. I think the media also have a responsibility to confirm and clarify information. I don't think in that particular case the help matters. But it's still the question, when I come back to the question, that the issue that you're talking about, there's been an issue of very lack of clear communication, lack of transparency on these processes, which would do a lot of its own groundwork without the commission even doing anything. If you have opened processes up, those voter audits, we've conducted 2 voter audits on the IBC register in 2012 and in 2017. And the 2017, of course, like I said, just like you put it, we are clear from an ELOG point of view that we went into the 2017 elections with a voters roll which had the same problems. We are very clear because we did an audit after the event.
Yes.
We requested...
because you did it 2012 and 2017.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, even the 2017 one we did after the election.
The election, yes.
So that would mean when we see similar issues, whether it's duplicate records, whether it was some errors, we saw them after the elections had been done, which would mean that we went into 2017 elections with a faulty register. It had not been cleaned, because where we saw, for instance, where KPMG saw about 200,000 records which had problems, we saw something like 160,000. So the cleanup was like about 40,000 records or such. So that still is a heavily fraudulent record. So if we did that, and saw that. And in 2022, we requested for the register. We never got it. And in fact, we went on to say the reason why we request for the register to audit again is because we saw some issues in 2017. And since we have not gotten any feedback since 2017, what you are saying that could we still be having the same records which have been updated further with new voters, but with still the same problems? And now that even in 2022, there was no transparency about the findings of what you were given, what was the commission said, this is what you were told. The report was not made very public about the audit of KPMG. And that was a concern for us because we wanted to see what were the issues. And then afterwards, a report showing what has been done.
Addressed.
Did we go to the elections with a completely error-free roll, or we still have some issues? So because all these things were being done very close to the elections, it was not very possible for us, people, in fact, you are running over something else. You are running over registration of candidates, you are running over litigation issues, you're chasing logistical preparations. So people never had enough time to be able to interrogate that particular report by KPMG. So in sum, there is a serious need to be able to make an assessment of that register, in my view,
Musau,
before 2027.
IBC suffers a trust deficit for a long time. I think we've said every election that has been done post new constitution has been subject to litigation in the Supreme Court. And as you say, communication is very key in terms of carrying the populace to understand what's going on.
Yes.
IBC has failed to do that because they don't have the capacity or they don't have budget. Secondly, how then do we say, how do we carry the people, especially coming to 2027, and you know how people are hooked, and the Nikokadi movement, young people coming on board and trying to say we want to make a change. How would they feel confident that the commission is doing? And according to ILOG, based on what you've seen, do you think this trust deficit will still go on and persist in 2027? Or you feel the commission still has a chance to walk Kenyans and say, this is our target, this is where we are vis-a-vis the reality that we're dealing with, and what we can be able to do and what we can't be able to do?
Every working day, the commission has an opportunity to redeem its image, in my view. And we have highlighted a number of issues, even just current issues about the Nikokadi movement, where they could go out of their way. They have come out and issued clarifications, but I think they need, one of the issues about even just the 2012 issue was that how many young voters, or even how many voters in this country remember that we actually re-registered in 2012? Not many. Not many. In fact, people were asking themselves, what did we do in 2012? Exactly. Everybody was asking themselves, what is it that we did in 2012? Could we have been removed from the register? It's a simple issue. Explaining these issues in a manner that Kenyans understand first the process. Elections are about the people. And they are there for the people. We have to make them people-centric. We must understand, especially now that we have younger voters who are interested in participating in the process, there should be a very robust engagement. I would be now getting, Ademba would be my friend if I was in IBC now. It would be somebody I bring on board to say, I want you to help the other young people, because you've already mobilized them, and you have other lieutenants out there who are doing very good work. I would embed them in an outreach campaign, because it's about them.
Exactly.
It's about them. And in the manner that they understand, whether they understand it through TikTok or through whatever fora, let you go to those spaces, because it is their elections anyway. So what I would require of IBC is that kind of an outlook. They're not relinquishing their responsibility and their mandate if they allowed the young people, the women from chamas and other people to participate in the program and curate what they call co-creation of engagement on the electoral process. I would expect that at the very least.
Musau, you see, you've mentioned something that is very critical, that elections is for the people, by the people, and about them pretty much, because it is the people who get out there to donate that power to individuals who will represent them, because 55 million Kenyans can't go and vote for a finance bill. No, we have to elect the 290 individuals to do that for us, right? So therefore then, this exercise must include Kenyans. Kenyans have to be at the center, because here's the thing. Today we talk about, I beg to digress, but I will come back to what I'm saying. If someone is saying that healthcare is not working in the country, it is because they have used that healthcare and it has not worked for them. And that is feedback mechanism for you, right? It is them who will tell you how it is. So therefore, for an election to be free and fair, it is not the political class to tell us that the election is free and fair. It is Kenyans to tell you that according to them, the election was free and fair. But we see that in all these decisions, even right now, the people are calling for the audit of these, we're calling for the audit of the register. It is the political class. For a very long time, it has been seen that decisions around elections, it is the political class that have always pushed the narrative. IEBC therefore has the responsibility to change the conversation, to put Wananchi first, because it is about them. Because if I, as a seto, is not confident about where you sit, because I don't trust the political class.
Yes.
If I see you play with them, I will definitely not trust that you have my interest at heart.
Yes.
Would I be wrong to think like that?
No, totally not. Because you remember, the political class is a prejudiced class.
Oh, it is.
They are interested in something.
Biased.
They are biased. They have their biases. And therefore, they'll tweak things to that bias. We did 2 reports. Let me give you an example. We did 2 reports in 2022. So we did what we call the technical report, where I have gathered data, quantitative especially. These are the number of people we were able to see. These are the number of incidences that we saw. This is the number of people who assisted in terms of voting. So we get data, and we use that to create an opinion in terms of what we think the election means.
For projections.
Yeah, for projections. Then we did another very interesting report after the elections. We said, this is an ELOG report based on technical aspects. Let's now do a qualitative one. Let's go and ask Wananchi what they think about their elections. It was a much more interesting report in my view than the technical report, which is what we are required to do. This one, the Wananchi were very furious, and some of the issues they raised were very simple. For instance, they ask you, how do you expect us, for instance, to believe that the elections are free and fair when in our community, in my village, only one family got appointments as presiding officers and clerks?
Yes.
You know, those are like discussions in the village, that we saw certain families only whose sons and daughters were the ones who became clerks. And we also know the persuasions or political persuasions of those families. You know, people know each other in the village. So when people say we have seen such kind of things, and that is in our report, it's called Vile Tunaicheki. In fact, we call it Vile Tunaicheki because that was now the Kenyans telling us what the people are saying. So you started even wondering, why do I even need the technical report? Because if the Kenyans have a feeling that things are not going right, and these are their elections, they'll not accept them.
The outcome.
They'll question the outcomes because they can see something at the local level that seems to insinuate that this is cooked some way or the other. It may not be cooked. Again, there may be a very good election at that point, but the perception is key. So, yes, I agree with you. If we focused on the people, and I have asked the commissioners a number of times, if the day I see you in a Njurinjeke meeting, I see you guys in a chama meeting, our mama, you know, you're having a conversation with them about their elections.
Bunge la
Mwananchi. Then I start seeing you're speaking to the people.
You're doing what is
You're
expected.
getting good feedback from the people. And that's what I talked about, co-creation. You know, these young people have come up. We don't even need a budget. You know what young people are saying? We don't need a budget.
No, you don't.
To do mobilization.
It's been proven.
But they're using their own resources. They're not using IBC resources. They're not using governmental resources. They're using their own resources to mobilize. We never ever needed that. We just needed to be in the right space. And you will get feedback. You will get the voters that you need. You will get participation. So there is an outreach. As I say, in every waking moment, the commission has an opportunity to redeem the image. And because we have a new commission, we need to see, they say a new broom sweeps clean. Can we see a different approach? We still have time. It's going to be a condensed period. It's about 60-something. There are 60-something weeks to the elections. We need to see concerted efforts by IBC, especially in outreach. Forget about the political class for now. We need to deal with them when they are starting to nominate and doing their own things. Let's deal with the people first. Are people enfranchised to participate in these elections? That should be the core question right now.
Easier said than done. And this is why. Is it because of how we fund IBC? There's not that independence. As much as it's on paper and we call ourselves Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, are they necessarily independent in terms of funding? So if I'm the one who's resourcing you, I'm the one who's appointing, as much as we say it's, like something that's done together, with political parties. But the reality is that there is a heavy executive hand in terms of who becomes the commissioners. Then, do you see how hard it is for you to not be biased? Do you see how hard it is for people to feel like the referee is already compromised because of where they come from? Listening to the interviews and following what was happening at the time of people were being interviewed, you could tell, even without being so smart, that the people who might get the job are people who are speaking a certain language. Ethicon has come out to say, people told me, this will happen, but I'm willing and I'm going all the way to ensure there's a credible election. But then there's also a question of how he's come in, who has brought him in, and who he relates with more.
Perception again. So it's important because, you see, it's easy to discredit perception, but then it's what people see and feel. How does he have to ensure that consistently inform people, there's transparency, work with the people, so that at the end of the day, we can confidently say that for once we've had an election that Kenyans can trust and believe in. But the issue was also of there's a part that you can be able to play the devil's advocate for, just to position things in a much more clearer way. Because I agree with you first that the budget and the fact that budgets are being superintended by the executive, parliament, and other actors makes makes the work of IBC a little bit difficult. The truth is that they are not as independent. Actually, ideally, what an independent IBC should be is that it should have its own committed funds.
Exactly.
So they can really do that which they need to do. But first, the budget as always is withheld. Sometimes it does not even come at the right time, so it ties their hands in very many cases. And that's been something that we have spoken over for a very long time, and we wish that the independence of IEBC was much more guaranteed. But there is another angle to this. Remember when people talk about the executive, who is the executive? Who has brought the executive on board? You vote.
Yes.
Yeah. You make a decision that you want a certain executive, you want certain members of parliament, and they are supposed to superintend over the decision, like you're saying. They are the 290, are the ones who go to sit over the finance bill to decide for you. Yeah. We have a representation system in this country. So if it's a representative democracy where you're saying somebody has to be the one to speak for me, then when you choose a president and when you choose members of parliament, governors, and everybody else, you have ceded some level of authority. Of course, the Constitution says there is a way you can redeem your authority because it is still yours. It is just delegated anyway. But then there are also the layers that the point of decision making, and you've seen even in the US. Even Trump has his way about who appears in the Supreme Court, who is going to be a judge. They are going to make these decisions. There are power dynamics to some of these issues. What is most important is that once you've been appointed to become a member of the independent, and remember what we mean by independent commission is that it's a people's commission. There is a secretariat. That secretariat could be drawn from the ministry. For all we care. It could be members of a ministry who've been seconded to go and work there. That's not a problem. The commission itself, those 7 individuals, are supposed to be holding brief for the public. Thank you. They're the people who are sitting on the other side and holding the public's brief. They're the ones who interrogate the process
internally
in terms of the people. And that's what I was saying. It would be good to see them much more associated with the people
than the other way around.
Than even the secretariat. The secretariat can do the functions, the procurement, and other things can be done administratively pro-government. Because that is expected to be an operation, a governmental operations. But the commission and the commissioners belong to the people. So the more they associate themselves with sentiments of the people, the issues that people are having, how they conduct elections, if they conduct elections in a manner. In Moldova, I've given this case before. In Moldova, I attended the elections last year. One of the things that they do at the local levels is that they have, rather than the commission walks around supervising the elections, they appoint local villagers.
Very
respected local villagers to be part of the teams which are in a polling station. So there is a man and a woman. You ask, who are these? They are just locals here. They have been appointed by the commission to assist in ensuring there is quality control in the polling station. And those are guys that they take their roles very seriously. They're the ones who are going to be standing up and they're telling people, allow that person, this person needs to be removed from here. The clerks are doing their work. But the guys who are holding brief for the commission in the village are villagers.
Yeah.
Then another very small, again, example of people-driven processes. In Moldova, again, in every polling station, any new voter who comes in and votes and completes the process of getting the ballot, going and putting it in the ballot, they clap for them. Everybody stands up, claps. You see, those are things which are endearing to the people. They feel, wow, this is our process. They feel proud. It is something that makes you feel part and parcel of the governance process, the democracy in the country. There are small issues. Yeah. It's a question of outreach, get to the people, work with the people, make an election for the people.
For a very long time, we've looked at the budgets that are sent to IEBC, resources available to IEBC. IEBC has always complained in terms of not getting resources that they deserve for them to do, talk about civic education, registering and all these things. They've always complained about availability of resources. But today, as we sit here, the voter turnout, IEBC does not need to do a lot. All like we've just found out, the young people are doing that for them. All IEBC therefore needs to do is to ensure that it is with the people and the people will do the heavy lifting for them. IEBC needs to realize that in a football match, it is the referee.
It is.
In a football match, referee is not favoring anyone.
Yes.
Is there to ensure that everything goes according to plan.
The rules of the game
are followed. Yeah. That exactly is the role of IEBC. But here, it is because at the end of the day, anyone who passes through IEBC's hands has been given the mandate by 55 million Kenyans, who will then even decide on how IEBC will run its affairs. So it is also in their best interest to ensure that these refereeing, the people that pass through here are people who respect the law. I believe that that's the role of IEBC, to ensure that these are people of integrity, peoples that are endearing to Kenyans and Kenyans just love them because they believe they will deliver. That's the role of IEBC. We talk about... there is the other issue of internal processes and within IEBC. Kenyans today have a difficult time trusting that IEBC will deliver. Why? Because we just need to pause and look at the process that went into putting these individuals into office and how political parties played a major role in the selection exercise. Remember, even the selection exercise was delayed because there is a party that went to court and said, we have not been involved. It is the political class that Kenyans said played a major role in putting these individuals into office. So from the word go, the commission itself has a difficult time because everyone said, but we saw ODM put someone there. We saw the ruling part, the government put its person there. Wiper had its person there. How do we then believe that individuals that are there do not hold brief for these political parties and that you will favor them and not favor us as wananchi? So moving forward then, is there a need for us to relook on how we select individuals? Political parties are stakeholders in the same, right? But how do we then ensure that even if they are stakeholders, it is not seen as if they are the ones calling the shots
they are minor stakeholder.
Who ends up on the commission?
There are major arguments about the model, model that we and the method that we apply in terms of selecting the commissioners. We have chosen the expert model way. We call it expert.
Okay.
However, there are issues around whether it's expert.
Expert is the most misused word in Kenya right now.
But we call it the expert model because we say we have appointing nominating organizations, and they're listed, including religious leaders, and they're supposed to get for us qualified people who can be able to. And if you look at the requirements of being a commission or chair, you find the qualifications indicate they should be people who have some knowledge. Even some of them are even prescribed, like for instance, law for the chair.
Yeah.
You know, these are things which are prescribed. So
About
there's a
15
level
years
of
or something,
there's a level of expert. When they bring in ISPAC, the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the expectation is that they'll nominate somebody who has understanding of financing
and
such kind of things, and
issues.
accounting. Yes. So the thinking in terms of the kind of commission that Kenyans want to have under the current arrangements is that we have an expert model. But there are also those who argue that maybe if you made it a more political model, where we have people holding brief. Clearly,
Which is what it is.
Yeah, so they say the argument is usually that if we have an ODM person and a Wiper person and UDA person, they will check each other.
Definitely.
In terms of the determination of who then gets into.
Let me put a spanner before you continue.
Yes.
What happens if all these political parties form a coalition?
Now this is now now I bring my argument.
Yeah.
I think remember there was a discussion. Was it the BBI discussion before, where there was a question about the kind of commission that you want and how there are those who are fronting the political commission.
Yeah.
I am among those people who opposed it for that very reason. But because our context in this country is that we never know where political parties are at any one electoral period. How serikali this particular election, the next time they have jumped ship, they are on the other side. And this argument, we even had it at Bomas in a NADCO discussion, because at that point, again, the political parties were trying to flex their muscles. And I asked some of those luminaries in the political parties, do you know where your colleagues are going to be by the time we head 2027? Today, they are in different camps.
True.
So because of that kind of fluidity, you don't want to have guys who can go in there and start conspiring rather than checking each other. And that's why I think the idea, it was under our circumstances been best advised that because even now, even in the current nominating the nominating agents are not political. It's only they are made political somehow.
Yes.
We have IRCK, the Interreligious Council.
Yeah.
We have ISPAC. We have the Law Society of Kenya. These are independent. Then they bring in PPLC. You see now where PPLC comes in, and the Parliamentary Service Commission. Now when they come in, how the cards are played there is politics.
Yeah.
So they end up having a dominant, I think, number of, is it 4 out of the 7?
Who has majority in the House? Or whatever.
So that is negotiated. So you'll never ever escape the political question one way or the other. But at least their agreement at this point is that while we'll not avoid it, at least we know that we have not modeled it very clearly to mean that it is ODM and UDA and Wiper who are calling the shots, but they will find a way. They find a way, and we must accept also our processes anyway. Because when the Parliamentary Service Commission goes and says we'll need people for 2 from the opposition and 2 from government, what do you do about it?
You have no choice. But then that speaks to something else. It probably speaks to the kind of elections that we have and the stakes, in terms of winner take it all.
Yes.
Where it's absolute that, if you don't win the elections, you're out for a long time. And because of the pressure there is, then the demand on IBC is extreme, that they can only work with and, respect, in quotes, what the political parties want. Much as we don't want to see that, because that's the reality. The politicians are very small, stakeholder, very small, because they represent us. Who is the majority is the people. Don't you think we need to relook at the appointing system or the selection system, where ordinary Kenyans or Kenyans who feel they have the capacity, we say this is what is required for chairman of the commission and whatever, and then have Kenyans apply and be able to be put to task like, I'm a civil servant, and there is what I'm supposed to do, my key areas that I need, KPIs, and be checked on that and can be accountable for, as opposed to being appointed by political parties. Maybe then that would help us.
Yeah, all these arguments about whether the political parties and the kind of participation that they need to have in this particular process are more informed by the behavior of political parties. It's not that political parties cannot give us very good people.
True, I agree.
They have good people, but they have very bad behavior. In fact, one of the biggest problems that we have in this country is lack of political hygiene.
But therein lies the contradiction.
Yeah. So, but now that's our politics, and that and we seem to. I don't know whether Kenyans are accepting their responsibility in terms of that kind of a setup to some extent, because we must at least, we must also be accountable, because these politicians are coming from our villages, they are coming from our estates, ni mabeste wetu. How we end up creating politicians who are self-serving, or who are basically very myopic in terms of how they want to underwrite the affairs of the state, is something that we must ask of ourselves first and foremost. But there's something that you alluded to in terms of the system, again, the system which informs that kind of competitiveness, futile competitiveness. For me, the first past the post system, and a number of us have argued that we needed to change this system into much more proportional representation. You know, if we said you were going to choose political parties, the way South Africa does these things, it chooses or Ethiopia, which is conducting an election next month or thereabouts. They choose political parties. The parties go on and appoint their own the presidential candidates, like the ANC does in South Africa. And you see, even the ANC now even has power to remove an unperforming president, like they did with Zuma, because now, as a party, they are being attacked about not performing, not delivering. So they can make internal decisions about whether we want. But that's it's a long-term discussion. So
just a rider, Musau, and yes, this is important. Then does it speak to the people or the Kenyans generally? Because it's not about the setup that we choose. How effective are we, or guarantee that we will stick to what we agree and follow the principles that we lay down, or the rules that we... Because you see, governance is about rules and structures that we put in place. And if we all agree to them, then it wouldn't be difficult. It doesn't matter first past the post, or the one that political parties do this, but do we all agree to that and are willing to play by the rules of what we agree?
But do we?
That's the question I'm saying. It's about the people.
There's a general hygiene question in this country that we never ever belabor on pointing out. And you see it in the streets. You see it Kobarabara with the tabias that we have on the roads, throwing garbage out our windows, overlapping. There's a general hygiene problem that we have.
So it's the people. It's us.
So and we need to look into that. There's a way that we need the value system. That Article 10 issue in the Constitution is an area that we need to invest a lot of our time in and programs in, because it is from that now we shall be able to move on to the next level of saying what kind of leaders then are we looking at. The leadership, chapter 6 of the Constitution will start making sense if we deal with Article 10.
Article 10,
yes, we will need to deal with that. If we don't deal with that, then we'll keep talking about all these things, because we must always look also inward and ask ourselves, why are we having a bad system over time?
I want to look at IEBC and the trust that does exist. As we speak right now, Haiko, I repeat that again in this question, right?
Yes.
But we also live in a country where after the 2017 election and the court's ruling, we heard what the president said at the time: we shall revisit. And we knew what exactly we shall revisit meant. It meant budget resources being cut, making your work to be difficult. And then again, it is a president in a system where winner takes it all. President who controls the instruments of power and violence in the country, and the investigative agencies. And we know individuals who, just for opposing the leadership, have found themselves in court for cases that many say have just been planted because you said no to the leadership. And being that we're Kenyans and someone in IEBC, someone will always look at their back like, hey, how do you even start going against this individual? Which also speaks to the people in IEBC and whether they can stand firm and say no to injustices that they see are trying to be peddled. But then again, there is also IEBC and where it sits. Today, in 2026, we have a leadership, we have a political class that has been campaigning throughout when it comes to campaigning period, and IEBC being centered to that. We're not seeing them speak Yet it is their responsibility to speak to that, speak to EACC or DPP to ensure that everyone is playing by the rules. IEBC is silent on this. And we talk about campaign financing.
Yeah.
It is a difficult conversation that no one wants to talk about. Yet these are issues that will bring the synergy. It will bring the good manners in our political space, and that even Kenyans themselves, you know that once they make elect, there is no politician who will come to your estate to campaign to give you 500 bob.
Yeah.
Because you know they would not come because everyone is respecting the law. So how difficult is IEBC's job in ensuring this happens? And what is our responsibility as Kenyans as we're looking inward in ensuring that we are the number one implementers of the Constitution?
You know, I think one of the issues that I have spoken to quite a number of times is the question of character. I think it is important for individuals who are holding public positions to have character, strong characters that can speak or can attend to certain pressures.
Yes.
For instance, there's nothing in this country. We find it very difficult to be able to resign from public positions. I've not understood why.
Yeah.
People lose nothing unless they're just selfish. If you find yourself in a public position where there is too much pressure from above or whatever quarters, you always have the option to walk away.
Go.
You always have to, and that is part of how we can create credibility in terms of some of these positions.
Yeah.
So where you have pressure, because when people tell you, I was acting because of this A, B, and C, people can walk away.
Show your
this
protest.
lady, what do you call her? The former commissioner who went to the US.
Akombe.
Rosaline.
Akombe walked away. She still holds her head high wherever she is. She even got back her position, I think, where she was working. Yeah. So you can keep your head high. If you think there's a problem, especially when you get to yourself, these are positions we hold as public trustees. If there's any issue that may make you fallible, whatever pressure, walk away. Whether it's a personal problem or whether it is a pressure which is being exerted from the exterior, because you've come into an office with the understanding that you're supposed to be an independent person or entity. Above board. So the minute something comes in, we should see them resigning if there's a pressure. If then they are okay, now it comes to the other side, then why don't we conduct ourselves and our affairs and ensure that we direct the agency in the direction that is intended, and therefore attend to what the people are looking for. So I find it very interesting when people occupy public position, alafu unaanza kusikia wakisema unajua sasa there was nothing I could be able to do it. If there's a problem with the Minister of Energy and people are talking about it and you think you can't be able to hold, you're under too much pressure, walk away.
Walk away, yeah.
Show your protest.
And in this country I've seen serious luminaries, figures who have walked away from these positions and nothing happened to them. They retain their respect. So they should, in my view, anybody, whether it's IBC, whether it's a minister, whether it is a public servant, if you feel you cannot be able to fulfill your mandate because of one reason or the other, walk away.
And that is a good place to end the conversation this morning. Mule Musau is National Coordinator, ELOG, and talking about Election Watch, auditing the voters register and population data, and as well just throwing it back to Kenyans to look inwards and to know exactly what we all must do to have an election that we say is above board. Asante sana.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.